Hello and welcome to my attempt at a video. This is November 0 Golf India Yankee, Quentin in Houston, Texas. And today we'll be discussing a question that I am often never asked. What is ham radio? What is amateur radio? And I heard it discussed the other day, and I thought it was really interesting. The origin of the word amateur, which apparently means from the heart, from Latin amator, lover, from amare, to love. And I thought that really struck a chord with me because we're talking about something that we love. And they compared it to FM radio, broadcast radio, and broadcast radio, it's commercial, and amateur radio is not commercial. We're not doing this to make money. We're doing this because we enjoy the hobby. Sorry, I was playing with my video there. But yeah, you can see an example of an amateur radio station from this Wikipedia article. And these are just people's homes, people's hobbies. You can learn so much about science, geography, engineering, and make so many friends, learn all kinds of different technologies. We, like you can see in this picture, they may have started off with vacuum tubes, and it goes back. There's a lot of history to radio. But yeah, now we use computers, digital modes, SDR, that's software-defined radio. And ham, the word ham, doesn't refer to your stance on eating meat or pork. It actually goes back to mocking the Morse code sending skills. They were ham-fisted. They would ham up the bands, so to say. But we kind of stuck to it, and it's like you can see here, a label of pride. I would agree with that. So yeah, it's not really an insult anymore. It's a term that we use with pride. But yeah, ham radio, amateur radio, whatever you want to call it, it's an old technology, but it's a useful technology. And you can thank the Amateur Radio Relay League. They are the ones that lobby on our behalf in order to keep amateur radio protected. Because the fact of the matter is that governments and corporations, they've got a lot more money to throw around than, we do. Because we spend all of our money on stations and equipment, batteries, computers, radios, antennas. It gets expensive. And after all that, the ARRL would like you to become a member and throw them some money. And whatever your stance is on the ARRL, I mean, there is no alternative. So I really encourage anyone who has some extra funds to please support the ARRL. Otherwise, the frequencies that we're currently allotted, and let me show this on the screen here. What do you call it? American Radio Band Plan. If you think about it, there's like all these lights in the air that you can't see. That's radio, X-ray, gamma ray, microwaves. And it's incredible how much of it is, pay to play, how much of it is monetized. There's actually very little that we, as human beings are allowed to play with. And I'm not doing a great job of showing the band plan here, but Hopefully I can find something. But there's so many different things that we can use radios for, and people don't necessarily realize it. But you've got Wi-Fi, you've got Bluetooth, you've got TV broadcasting, you've got FM radio, AM radio. Oh, and here's a little green section here, amateur radio. Maritime, that means boats on the ocean. But yeah, let's zoom in a little bit more here. Radio services, there's all kinds of services on there. Space operations, space research, mobile satellites, cell phone, government exclusive, government, non-government shared. And then you have primary and secondary users, so sometimes you'll see them stacked up like this. So green, amateur, a lot of the times the bands that we're given will be if you see, will be like a secondary or sometimes a third or fourth on this list of uses. So a lot of the times we have to duck out of the way and make way for these other services. Whenever there's an emergency or a need, we have to, not cause issues. And another thing is power restrictions. We're restricted to the power we can use. We're heavily restricted where we're allowed to transmit. And then you've got things like cell phone signals where you're not allowed to decrypt it if you were somehow able. That would be illegal. You can't transmit on bands that are used by the Federal Aviation Administration. You can't transmit on out of band. I mean, you can get in trouble for that. So there is a lot of good reasons to justify needing an amateur radio license. And it's gotten so much easier since I've been born to get your ham radio license. So yeah, looking at this right here is pretty overwhelming. I've actually never looked at this before, but it is pretty interesting. Down here you've got not allocated. That's so low frequency that's like for submarines. That's 3 kilohertz. All the way up here to 300 gigahertz. That's extremely high frequency. But if we just go back here, you can see the ARRL frequency chart, and they pass these out at ham fests, and you can order one from the ARRL, and that's got all of your information about the bands that we're allowed to use. So you've got HF bands, you've got VHF and UHF, and they all operate slightly differently. But they're all fun to use, and they all have different uses. And like I was saying earlier about radio, is it has so many different uses. And so I want to go into more detail in future videos about, what are these uses. But of course you can use it to listen to music. You can use it to talk to people. You can use it to make friends. You can learn it to hobby. But there's just something about owning your own infrastructure, not paying a cell phone bill or paying a monthly installment plan for a cell phone. So while radio may have been, or amateur radio may have been cutting edge technology at one point, now it's almost like a philosophical thing. Do you have the ability to communicate if you lose power, if you lose internet, if your cell phone bill misses a payment? How can you communicate? So there's something in amateur radio for everyone, and I want to make a series of videos here in this room in my office. I've got a little streaming setup, so if anyone has any topics that you'd like me to cover, let me know. I want to talk about amateur radio, including Wires X, DMR, Brandmeister, Ham Shack Hotline, and I'm also really interested in Texas GMRS network and building nodes for that network. How to use SSH, how to use PuTTY to SSH into your Raspberry Pi, and other things like that. So let me know if there's anything that you'd like me to tackle first. And I would like to try my hand at making some kind of instructional content. But very new to this, so it'll be a learning experience for me as well. This is November 0, Golf India Yankee, Quentin in Houston. And this will be my first test recording from the studio here in Houston, Texas. We'll be standing by and listening for any comments or questions. Leave them below. And have a great day, 73.